having fun in what you're doing is also really important to job satisfaction.
Absolutely.
And I've been trying, I mean, it sounds silly, but as an adult, I've been trying to play more. And, I wish we had time to get into that, but we don't. But those kind of things, like seeking out opportunities that just sound enjoyable and fun and not like labor are awesome.
You've just heard Jennifer Grewe from Utah State University. Jen had the opportunity to sit down with Eric during STP's annual conference on teaching in fall of 2024. We want to thank Lindsay Maslin, the conference director, and the STP executive committee for making the space for Psych Sessions to conduct these recordings. So let's get to the episode.
Hi, my name is Vishal Tukkar, and I am currently an assistant professor at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center. I am excited to be a member of STP since STP offers a place where I feel like I belong and I am always welcome. There are tons of opportunities like task forces, small groups, and the annual conference on teaching, or ACT, to meet new friends, reunite with old ones, learn something new each step of the way, and learn more about the impact and importance of being a teacher of psychology. I encourage everyone to visit teachpsych.org and join STP as a member today.
Psych Sessions is sponsored by W.W. Norton. Are you looking for more activities to promote scientific literacy? ZAPS 3.0 interactive labs from W.W. Norton are brief, hands-on activities that invite students to actively participate in the process of psychological research and discovery. Utilizing a consistent 5-part framework and incorporating transparent design principles, students experience classic psychological studies like the Stroop effect, false memory, the serial position effect, signal detection, and more. Once they've completed the experiment, students can compare their data with national data and their own classmates, offering the opportunity for rich in-class or online discussions. Bring the science of psychology to life for your students with ZAPS. For Psych Sessions listeners new to ZAPS, you can try it for free the next time you teach. Just go to siegel.wwnorton.com/Psych Sessions. And the folks at WW Norton will even integrate it into your LMS for you. That is Siegel, like the bird, SEAGULL.wwnorton.com/Psych Sessions.
Welcome to another episode of Psych Sessions. I am thrilled to be talking today with Dr. Jenn Grewe from University. I blew it already. Utah State University, not the U, but the USU.
Yeah, we're the other state school there. So
Jenn, I got your name right, but I got your school wrong. I'm batting 500.
That's all right.
Is there a short name for Utah State?
Yeah,
so University of Utah is the U,
Yeah, USU.
USU is
USU. Yeah.
There's no clever USA or anything like that.
No, just USU. It's pretty short and easy to remember. So that's what we use.
Awesome.
Or Utah State.
For your patience and me getting and stumbling through that. In fact, I actually looked you up earlier today before this conversation and did a little bit of research. You were an undergraduate at Utah State, is that correct?
I was, yes. I was. I kind of had a more, I think, unique sort of journey in my path and my career. I know that's not as often that people find themselves kind of working at the institution that they went to. But that's how it really played out for me. And it's actually been a wonderful experience. I've loved my job. I've loved the people I've gotten to work with. And anyway, it's been a really good fit for me, both professionally and personally.
So just for our listeners, you did your undergraduate at Utah State, your master's at Utah State, you're a PhD at Utah State, and now you're a faculty member at Utah State. Did I get that sequence correct?
Yep. I pretty much bleed blue. That's what we call it.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I did. I was actually, part of my story is that I I was working on my graduate work. I had gone here as an undergrad, and I had a professor that kind of recruited me to enter into the grad program. And so I had finished my master's work, and I was still kind of working on my PhD as my master's on my way to a PhD. That's how the program worked at the time. And I found somebody that I just fell in love with. And we got married, and sometimes, you have to navigate those things logistically about life. My spouse has a great job and works for a business here locally. And so I sort of realized after I graduated that, okay, well, we can't really up and move this established business, successful business. And I just started teaching here and there for the department. And after a while, I think I made myself pretty valuable to the department. And then there was a position that opened, and I applied for it, and I got it. So, and then in 2020, it was 2020, my position kind of changed, and I went through a non-tenured promotion process and was promoted. But then my department saw the need for kind of more tenure track teaching faculty at our institution, specifically within our department. And so I applied for this tenure track position, which basically put me back at ground zero with promotion process. Mm-hmm. And I was tenured. I'm trying to think. I was tenured in, I think, 2023. So just recently.
So sometimes students will ask about that. Maybe they're an undergrad at Iowa State, and and they ask about, is it okay for me to go to my same school for graduate work? And obviously, it's been a success for you. But would you say that you were able to leverage your skills and abilities because they already knew you? They knew you from undergrad. They knew you from your master's work. So it sounds like you turned it into an advantage. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that. I think that it did involve a lot of kind of networking and really connecting with other faculty members here and really working hard on developing relationships. I think that's a key component with getting our positions and our jobs, is having people, know about you, know about your skills and your knowledge, and really what you're good at. And I think that was an important part of this journey as well.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about other internal candidates, let's say, that we've had at Boise State. And sometimes the internal candidate, them so well, wow, they're okay part-time for us, but I'm not so sure I want them full-time. But then sometimes, which I think is your situation, you get to know the internal candidate who's been working for you for a while, and you've got to see their professional skills and abilities. And then you go, oh my God, we know how great they are. We want to keep them no matter what. So I think sometimes internal candidates kind of have those two sides of the coin to deal with. Yeah,
they definitely got to see me. I mean, it's almost like almost like an on-the-job interview process where, right. They saw my work ethic. They saw what I could do, and I impressed somebody. So along the way,
well, you must have impressed a majority of somebody's.
Yes,
I'm sure the department voted.
Yeah.
But now, I got to ask you this: how was it? I'm assuming that the length of time was that when you graduated with your bachelor's degree, by the time you became a full-time faculty member in the non-tenure track, then the tenure track, some of the faculty still had to have been there.
Yeah, they did. And so that part of it was a little bit of an odd kind of transition that happened. But I think I was fortunate to work with people that just so quickly, as a member of their faculty community, and really treated me. And I think a lot of the relationships that I developed during graduate school were more colleague mentorship kinds of, okay. I mean, they almost felt a little bit that way. And so,
sure.
And that's how we were, and me specifically, that's how I felt like I was treated, as a more of a colleague and less as a, this is my supervisor sort of thing. less authoritative. And I had some really great colleagues that just kind of scooped me. I mean, I'm like Melanie, Dominique, Rodriguez, and anyway, there was a number of different people that just were so quick to like welcome me in that I think it made it a little bit easier. But some of it was tricky because I also knew about, I had experience being in some, people's classes and that sort of thing. So I knew that, I knew how they worked and I knew how they operated. And that was kind of an interesting perspective to have on a colleague to really kind of know their secrets. So.
Well, and I can just imagine if it was Dr. Smith for your entire, and I'm making this name up, by the way,
sure.
Dr. Smith for your entire undergraduate. And then after you get your doctorate, you become a colleague that, it's call me Bob, it's that it would be a hard transition for me, I guess. And in fact, the analogy for me is that I have 2 high school teachers to this day, 800 years later, who I adore and cherish. And in individual moments, they both invited me to call them by their first names, and I refused to, just out of a respect thing. But if you're working with them, I got a feeling it's going to be awkward to call him Dr. Smith all day long when he keeps telling you, come on, Jen, call me Bob.
Yeah. And I think I'm pretty easygoing. I think I'm kind of likable in some ways. And so I think it was kind of easy for my college. I think I am likable.
You are likable. Yes, you're correct.
I think I'm friendly and kind and compassionate with other people and people I work with and students that I supervise and all in all those different areas. And also if it's, those are values that I really adhere to. And so I think I made it easy for other people to see me as a friend, colleague, and because of some of those attributes that I value so much.
Whether you're a passionate psychology enthusiast or a dedicated college professor, we know that every student is unique, and so should be their learning journey. That's why we're thrilled to introduce you to Macmillan Learning's Achieve platform. Imagine a space where learning is as dynamic as the students themselves. Achieve offers a personalized experience with interactive ebooks and collaborative class management tools designed to meet each student's needs. But that's not all. Immerse yourself in our multimedia study tools and explore over 100 new videos, each crafted to spark curiosity and deepen understanding. For those who believe in empowering students with essential skills, Achieve has exclusive skill activities to help them master note-taking and APA-style usage. It's more than just learning. It's about preparing students for success in the real world. Innovation in education is at the heart of what we do. So why not be a part of this journey? Discover how you can inspire and transform learning experiences by visiting macmillanlearning.com/psych sessions. Together with Macmillan Learning, let's inspire what's possible for every learner. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm gonna jump all over the place. So what are you teaching this semester?
So I'm teaching, I teach our general psychology course for our department. So I teach the really large lecture hall course. I do that actually in person, and then I teach it online. And so those are 2 different classes, and I run them. I mean, it's the same content, but they're very different formats and how I run them. And then it was kind of interesting. I had a colleague that had to step away from teaching at the beginning of the semester. It was about a week before the start of the semester. And so my department head was, looking at some of the coursework that we needed to cover. And there was a class that, I was the obvious and best option to step into it. And of course, I'm really good about, pitch hitting when people need help. And so I said yes. And so I've been teaching health psychology this semester, and I haven't taught it in about 4-ish years, but it's been really fun to get back into that material.
Okay. So let me back. There's a little bit to unpack there.
Yeah, there is.
How many students are in your face-to-face general psychology class?
So it's about 200 students. I think right now I have 190 something. And then in my online class, it's about the same. So our caps are the same. And so I have about 190-ish in my online class as well. And then, and then I have about 40 students in my health psychology class.
And how many full-time faculty at USU?
So there's actually quite a few of us, but it's interesting because we have a lot of graduate programs. And so I think there's somewhere around 35 of us, but we have clinicians that run kind of more the practicum side of things and work as part of some of the services that we offer on campus, so they don't actually teach. And then we have faculty that are in charge of graduate programs that may not teach real regularly or only teach graduate students. And so I would say of our kind of core faculty, there's a much smaller group that teach our undergraduates. And I'm one of the people.
Yeah. And so I have a feeling that you know where I'm going. So
I don't know if I do.
Then we all will shortly, I promise. Okay. So you're already set up for fall of 2024 to teach 400 undergraduates across 2 sections, one online, one face-to-face. And you're the person that's picked to teach an extra third course above and beyond serving the 400 students you already have?
Yeah, I'm really good at what I do. And I think
good for you. I love the confidence.
I think when you're really good at what you do, often you get, picked for and you get asked to do more. And certainly I could be probably better at kind of realizing my own sort of boundaries and limitations and saying, and I have gotten better at saying no to things over the years. But this one was almost, it was a big lift, a big additional lift for the semester, but it's also content that I really love. And so sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, this is all awesome stuff. And I love this material. And so sometimes it's hard to say no to things you also really enjoy teaching. So.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and this happens for a lot of people, including myself, we are victims of our own success. We love teaching. Students tend to love our teaching for the most part. And an opportunity came along where you could jump back into a topic that you're obviously passionate about. The gentle question I would ask, and we can leave this topic anytime you want to. The gentle question I would ask is, what did you get to stop doing when you took on this extra class of 40 students? So for this semester, nothing really. So it kind of added on to my jobs. And I also have a role outside of my department that I haven't mentioned and haven't talked about yet, but that's quite time consuming and is a lot of work. But my department head actually came to me and he said, okay, well, I can give you a pile of money, or I can give you this extra course release for your spring, because I'm covering an extra course this fall for spring. Okay.
And in the past, there's been many, many years where I would have been like, give me the pile of money. I want the money. But this year was a little bit different, and I thought hard about it, and I realized, you know what, I want the time. And I took the course release, which is a bit unusual. It'll be the first time, and I would say over a decade, where I won't be teaching a face-to-face psychology 10-10 classes next spring.
Okay.
Well, except, maybe when I was on maternity leave back during COVID. So.
Absolutely. So can I ask what the outside of the department, is it like an IRB thing or something like that? Or
no, it's not. It's actually, so Utah State University has their first year experience. So first year students, so freshman students, we have a course that these students, they optionally can decide to take this course. It's a 2-credit course, and so there are assignments, there's in-class instruction, and students get grades, but we also have, so the faculty that we hire continue the students. There's like an academic side, and there's also this mentoring part of the program that they continue to mentor these students for the academic semester. So basically one academic year. Mm-hmm. And I run that program. And right now that program has over 110 different sections of it. I help hire and train over 100, the same amount of faculty. We also have this course. The majority of the sessions happen, I can see you're laughing at me, on Logan campus. But we are also offering it at our statewide campuses at Blanding, USU Blanding.
Of course you are.
And then USU Eastern or Price.
So Jenn, I'm just laughing because you're incredibly busy. And I am sure deep down inside you understand how incredibly busy you are. But I think it's something different when we say it out loud.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, you're teaching 2 courses, except 3 this semester, and you're running a major program that has 110 different sections, and it spans 2 campuses.
3 campuses, but yes, 3 campuses.
3 campuses. Right. You're helping make my argument. I'm not really making an argument. I'm just making an observation. You're busy.
Yeah, I am busy, but at the same time, I'm doing a lot of things that I really enjoy doing that I find really rewarding. I don't always find everything I'm doing rewarding, but overall, in general, I do. It's really it's really fun, actually, to be able to know faculty from all across our campuses. We get so siloed in our own departments often, where I don't have that experience. I have colleagues and friends in all of our colleges across the campus, including different statewide campuses. I have colleagues in business and philosophy and in the science and biology and art. And anyway, I get to know a lot of different people in a lot of different areas. And I think that's a really fun, rewarding experience.
Okay. So here's my question then. So when do you think you'll be dean?
We have a really great dean right now.
I'm not saying, someone enjoys that interdisciplinarity and someone who is so committed, saying chair, that chair is not usually interdisciplinary for the most part in most campuses, but they hear you talk about how you love the different disciplines and getting to know faculty, different aspects of your campus. That sounds like a dean candidate to me.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds for me? Right now, I'm just kind of doing the things that that I have on my plate right now. But yeah, I'm definitely open to more possibilities. I'm doing different things, maybe not more things, but
sure. So does this work ethic run in the family?
It does, actually. I have siblings that are highly successful and very well educated. I have actually my dad, my father is a first generation student, and he got his PhD and has been a dean, and he's incredibly successful in his area of study. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, how many siblings, may I ask?
So there's 5 of us total. So I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Gotcha. And where are you in the order?
So I'm second oldest. So I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest daughter. I think sometimes we have, oldest daughter. Kind of, there's a stereotype there. And I probably fit the bill on the stereotype. To be honest with you, that's probably me.
And what's the gap between your older brother and you, years-wise?
So there's 2 years between me and my older brother, and 2 years between me and my younger sister. But then we have a 7-year gap between me and my next brother, and then there's 14 years between me and my youngest sibling. So my sister that's a lot younger than me keeps me really cool and relevant and trendy.
I've got a brother 14 years older than I am. So I understand that gap. And honestly, when he was 18, I was 4. So, there not a lot of 18-year-olds hang out with a lot of 4-year-olds. So maybe as adults, you're catching up with your youngest sister. But I think there is something to that. You're the oldest female firstborn. You're the female firstborn, and as opposed to how middleborns get classified.
I think middleborns tend to, get that stereotype of being a little bit more carefree and maybe even a little careless and forgetful here and there, but definitely not us firstborn.
Although the lastborns get the careless and carefree sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
Space cadet, of the family, so to speak. And so my classic question that I ask almost every guest when I interview them, when you were growing up, was the question, will I go to college? Or was the question, what college will I go to?
It was always, what college will I go to? It was something, and I don't think it was anything that was just really pushed upon me, but it came from this internal drive I definitely, have always had this internal drive to be successful and to try and work hard at things and to educate myself. That was always something I graduated valedictorian from my high school.
Okay, I was just going to go to high school, so thank you for going there.
Yeah,
so first off, Jenn, doesn't surprise me based on how I know you, what I know of you in this conversation so far. I was going to ask you about your work ethic in high school, but you just answered it by being valedictorian.
Yes, I did.
What was your gig? And was it sports, drama, debate, cheerleading, athletics? What was your gig in high school?
Yeah, so I dabbled a little bit in some, athletics. So I was on the track and field team for a while.
Of course you were.
I enjoyed that. I played in the orchestra actually for a number of years. But I was really kind of focused on this idea of just, doing really well in my academic studies. And I'll tell you now, I have 3 daughters myself, and I've got my oldest daughter that I see a lot of similar kind of characteristics with myself. And I really try and emphasize actually this, don't work so hard. Or really? How about we make we like to say when she's leaving the house and she's going out and say, go make some really great small mistakes. Because, perfection, we don't want it. Right. We don't need perfection. And I think I kind of got sucked into that definitely in my high school and growing up and getting older. I definitely got sucked into that needing to be perfect, needing to be succeed and achieve.
Sure.
And I don't want that. That's so much pressure. There's so much stress, so much pressure. And so I like seeing my kids. I'm like, yes, you failed that. Great. Maybe not that much, but
there's so much to unpack there. So first off, before I lose the thread in my head, what did you play in the orchestra?
So I played the violin.
And were you first violin?
I wasn't. There was always kind of a little. There was somebody that I think she spent a lot more time practicing than I did. But I was usually up there at the top. But I wasn't first. I spent a little bit more time, I think, on my academic studies than I did practicing.
Well, she wasn't valedictorian, so we know that. Yeah, that's right. But Jenn, the thing is, that drive, that perfectionism streak in you, although it definitely has some downfalls, which you've already kind of alluded to, has driven you to do what you're doing today, right?
It really has. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very much so. It's been, it's gotten me through a lot of hard times where I've wanted to quit. I've wanted to, and just this internal drive just won't, doesn't let me, because it keeps me moving forward and persisting, which I do appreciate that part of it. Definitely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think most parents probably say, go make good choices, but I really do appreciate your version of go make small little errors.
Go make small mistakes. Yep.
Go make small mistakes that won't hurt you in the long run, but
Yeah, we don't want any big life altering kinds of mistakes.
We don't want a car accident.
No, or
but,
anything else of that
but
sort.
If you got a speeding ticket, the world's going to be okay.
And that's what I'm trying to teach my kids, that even when something doesn't go quite right or you make a mistake, it's still okay. You're okay.
Yeah.
We still love you,
I think there's an analogy for the classroom too, because I think I see a lot of my Boise State students who don't want to take risks. They want to know, I'm teaching research methods this semester, and they want to know how many pages should the discussion section be? And I'll tell them, you know what? It's not about page length or word count. It's about, did you do the 6 things you're supposed to do in a discussion section? And then the next day I'll get, so how many pages does it have to be? Because they don't want to make a mistake and hearing something that's counterintuitive to, well, it's always been about word count or page count, makes them nervous. And I'm not happy I'm making them nervous, but just do the thing and have confidence that you're doing it well, and be willing to make a mistake and then learn from it. I think everybody who's got a little bit of age on them understands we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's something I've kind of built into some of those general psychology courses. I've built in room for students to fail. I've built in paths where they can still fail a test or assignment and they can still be able to succeed overall in the class, that there is some room for that, because I think it's actually a great life lesson. If the first and a lot of times my class is the first class they may be taking at a university.
Yep.
And if the first time they make a mistake or they realize, oh, wow, I didn't study for this and it really shows, that they just quit. They just go, oh, this is too much. This is too hard. I'm going to quit. I'm going to give up. And so I've built in different strategies intentionally so that students, they have pathways to where they can still be successful overall in the class.
Yeah. In my intro psych class, I don't have tests, but I have projects. And I have this thing, I stole it from somebody, called late grace. So all you got to do is go to a Google form, fill out a late grace form, and you can add an extra 72 hours to any assignment in the class. Something I don't do for upper division, but I do for those general psych 101 students. And Jen, you're exactly right. When some students, when they experience that early failure or early trouble, they just want to quit. And they get to, but A, it's not really good for them to do that. And B, we know that it's not good for the institution with regard to retention of those students.
Yeah. And I think that's one reason why students, it's been a while, but I remember looking at some of my retention rates. I know the university they definitely look at that across different disciplines and across even courses. And I remember seeing that a handful of years back and realizing that for my class, it's actually, I retain more students. They go to the next semester more so than other general education classes that happen across campus. Yeah, I have some other kind of things that I do in my class to help them. One thing I've liked doing over the last few years is I've identified, and I worked with a colleague on some self-regulation learning kind of strategies. Yeah. And develop some material for my classes. And if they can do this once in the semester, but if they review and watch these different videos they're basically study strategies, and they have to practice it and then show me that they practice it. I will give them half credit back per item missed. So they really like that, because it does help boost their grade, but it's also really good for them because they're learning something that's going to help them moving forward, and not just in my class, in other classes as well. They're getting certain study strategies exposure that they may have never heard or never utilized before in the past.
Yeah, when I've taught general psych, I've always tried to start with the traditional chapter 6, which is like learning and memory, because you're right. Those are strategies that are going to help them. If if they realize they're transferable, those are strategies that are going to help them in every single one of their classes in college and remember things in their life that are important. So I like that strategy a lot. Jenn, if I'm thinking about our interview today, I want to, if I'm not remembering this right, I apologize. Did you start working with online research assistants before the pandemic?
So online research group, I don't know if that was me. I've been working online. I mean, I've been teaching online, and I've done kind of online sort of studies well before the pandemic, but that might not have been me.
I could have swore I heard you give an RMPA presentation once about how you utilize, you have online RAs that help you do data collection and research, but I apologize if I'm misremembering that.
No, that's okay. I mean, I've had a undergraduate only research lab for a lot of years, and that lab has been open to distance students. And so that's kind of something that I did. I actually did a presentation one time that was sponsored by the National Science Foundation on how to run, and actually was at the beginning of COVID because people didn't know how to do this, but how to run a research lab for yourself and supervise students in an online environment.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm remembering.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so well, maybe we should just go to the research area. With all the teaching you're doing, I can't imagine you have time for research.
Well, actually, I do. I just, the students show up and they just, they want to work on a research project, and they just are so just irresistible. And you just say, you go, okay, fine, I'll do something with you. I've actually got a couple of groups of students that are working on research projects this year, but I typically have at least one group of students, if not 2 or 3 groups of students working on a research project at any given year.
Okay, so it's groups of students, and are they working on something of your interest, or are they bringing interest to you and working on it with your supervision?
So it can happen either way. Often, a lot of times, students will come and they'll go, I want to do something. I want to work in this year, do some independent research project, but I don't really know what to do. And in those kind of situations, I kind of do some guiding and say, okay, what are we interested in? And then sometimes I guide it towards something that I'm also interested in. Sure. I always make sure it's something within my wheelhouse, of course. But yeah, I do have students. Now, the part I'm not real great about is we get through these studies, we get data collected, students will get a presentation. I'm not so great sometimes at writing it up. And that's where a lot of times I should probably spend some more time and do that.
Is that an important criterion for your job?
No.
Yeah, I mean, so you have teaching, research, and service, but are you a full professor, associate professor?
I'm an associate professor.
So will you need some publications before you apply for the next promotion?
Yes, but what I currently have, I do well over the kind of expected amount already. So, okay. I mean, adding some more publication, that would just be more a matter of me being able to see some projects a little bit more through the entire process and enjoy the fruits of that labor. But in terms of promotion, I have a great, real productive amount of, I think my expectation is very little on publications, like maybe 1 a year. And I typically have a handful every year. So,
after I asked the question, you started answering. I knew it was a foolish question. Of course, you've knocked it out of the park. Of course, you've already met that expectation for promotion. And of course, anything you're doing now is icing on the cake.
Yeah, it is. I think that is the reality, but it is so funny how even to today, I get this a little bit of like, I'm not doing enough. Oh, I need to do more. Or am I really almost like a little imposter syndrome sometimes that sinks in and think, am I, really good enough to be in this position? And be doing what I'm doing. And so, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I don't think about it as, wow, I'm really knocking it out of the park. I think, why can't I be even more productive? And that's unfortunate, I think.
Yeah, two things come to mind there. One is, I think that's a common theme that I've heard in interviewing faculty members, that they're not doing enough. And I don't know where that mentality comes from. Maybe graduate school training, maybe parenting, growing up as a kid. I'm not really quite sure the source of that. However, I think a little bit of that drive is beneficial to you and to others, right? If I don't feel like I'm doing enough, then that will sometimes motivate me to start doing more. It's not understanding, oh my God, 80 hours is about 30 hours more than you need to do, kind of thing, and things get out of balance. The other piece of it, listening to you, Jenn, tells me that you're not being mentored well. That if someone's not in your academic life telling you, oh my God, Jenn, you are knocking it out of the park, you could do half the amount of research work and still be exceptional. To me, that, and I don't want to be too harsh, and I don't know your situation, but to me, that sounds like someone who's knowledgeable and maybe more senior than you is not giving you feedback.
Yeah. And I think that could be the case. I do think we get feedback in our promotion process. And I remember the first time my committee saw my materials, I remember somebody coming back to me afterwards and being like, wow, these are in such good shape. I mean, this is
yes.
What you have here is, we need to just clean them up. But and she was kind of expressing this relief of being on a committee of somebody that's like, whoa, it's very little work on their end. And so I think I do get some of those messages, when we go through those but promotions are not necessarily as, real regular. And so I think it's really easy to not hear feedback from those that you admire and respect. I probably could use some additional mentoring. Sometimes, a good mentor within our circles can be a little bit hard to find and hard to connect with. And
yes,
and that's kind of tricky, because the other thing is there's not really anybody that does kind of the same thing that I do at my university, really. And so I don't know. I think it's me having to look a little bit more outside of my own university and say, and finding more mentorship that way too. That maybe would be beneficial for me. I don't know.
You're being very kind. I'm gonna not be so kind and not unkind to you, and say mentoring should happen more often at the annual evaluation point. It should happen all year long with people who you work with, who care about your progress, who care about your career. And in a good mentoring environment, you shouldn't have to go looking for it. It should be available to you, and you can avail yourself of it if you choose to or not. I'm not a big fan of this mandatory mentoring thing where you must meet once a week with a mentor-mentee, but voluntary mentoring where it's available, we make it known and we value it. And, you can get some time off of doing other things if you spend time with a mentor. There's ways we can make it palatable and enjoyable. I think a lot of times higher ed, we don't.
Yeah. And I think you're spot on. I mean, it's something I've never really thought about. And I think I probably have gotten sucked into, like, I tend to do so well that it's kind of interesting that I don't have a mentor telling me, whoa. Maybe, say no to this or something of that sort.
And I have multiple mentors right now, and most of them, because I'm years old, they're younger than me, and I don't care. I'm learning things from younger people. I'm getting advice from older people my same age. I don't think I'll be done with mentors until I'm done.
I love that. And I love that attitude. And I think it's just, and there's this piece where I'm really good at mentoring others, but sure, I don't think I've had a lot of experience being mentored myself. Just people often assume, she knows what she's doing. She's, really competent and she's got it down. She doesn't need any additional support or help, but that's probably not true.
Well, and it's not that you need support or help doing your job. It's really clear that you're just really outstanding at doing your job. But there's other things that what ways we support one another, whether it's the emotional challenges of a department and its inner workings, or it's the financial challenges that sometimes accompany higher ed, or 82 other different types of challenges that we face. I was driving home. We had a faculty meeting yesterday that was a little bit on edge, and I was driving home and texting one of my good buddies. She and I were texting back and forth while I was. I know I shouldn't have been driving and texting. I know. I can see your eyes roll. But it's good to have those, whether mentors or relief valves or trusted colleagues. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I do have that aspect of it. Definitely with I've got a colleague, one in particular, and actually my department head who's really good at this. But at the same time, sometimes it's hard to have it be the department head, because you can start to think to yourself, oh no, are they going to think I'm complaining, or are they going to think that I don't like what I'm doing, or something of that sort? But I'd still do some venting here and there. I remember I was venting a few weeks ago with this colleague and my department head about AI issues with my students, my classes. And so I have that to some extent. Yeah. I could probably do that more though. But I think I get trapped in this habit of thinking, oh, I can't complain, I can't vent too much. If I vent too much, I'm going to be viewed as not a team player, or as a complainer, or something more negative that isn't true, but I worry about.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. I want to ask you about, we've had a conversation recently, maybe it was ACT in Louisville in 2024. Tell me about what you're doing for service outside the university. I know you're involved with PsyChi. I know you're involved with STP. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah. So outside, I am an associate editor. I'm actually not really sure exactly my title, but in the teaching of psychology, I do a lot of the reviewing of manuscripts for that journal, and I really enjoy that. But I've done a few different roles with STP, including, I've had some roles with RMPA and also PsyChi. But currently, I'm on the steering committee for the ACT conference, and I put in an application for that I think it was somewhere over in the spring of the summer, and I was accepted to be on the steering committee. And I love working with STP people. I mean, they're just the most. They're just awesome to work with. I mean, you have other groups that you're a part of and you kind of go, oh, this is, something that is important to me, but it's a little bit more, it's not as easy thing to maybe connect with as many people but STP there's just so many amazing, incredible people that are involved in STP. So every time I take on something or I turn around and I'm working with somebody else with STP, it's always enjoyable. I always like who I'm working with. And so that's been really fun, is to be able to see those side of things on the conference planning. I've done conference planning stuff with RMPA and then also with PsyChi, but with STP, it's been really fun because
that's awesome.
People are just really enjoyable.
And so hopefully you'll continue to do that. And maybe then if you're interested and it meets your career goals, you'll work your way up the STP ladder. Could we be seeing that?
Maybe
as your informal mentor for today, I'm encouraging you to think about that. And if it fits everything.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I definitely, we'll see if people want me to stick around and want, me to move in that direction. I could definitely be open to that too.
So. That's very humble. I can't imagine them not wanting you to stick around, but I I understand that languaging. I understand that messaging very, very much so.
Sure.
Jenn, I want to be respectful of time. And so I wanted to ask you, was there something that you were hoping to talk about during our time together that we haven't gotten to, or something that you want to talk about or pitch or promote, or anything that you had in your head?
Not anything specifically. I mean, before I got in here, I did have a few thoughts rolling through my head. One being, kind of this idea of like more burnout happening at the end of the semester and self-care.
Yeah.
But I also, honestly, it was something that we just touched on, is I was actually thinking about, gosh, I love the relationships I've been able to develop with STP. And one of them being with you, Eric. I mean, it's been
back at you.
If I haven't been involved with STP, some of the other organizations, I don't think I would have ever kind of met you and others that I know this is just kind of one podcast sort of thing, but I looked forward to it because I thought this is great. I get to sit down and talk to somebody who I consider a friend, and it's really enjoyable. And that was something I was kind of coming into here with almost like a little bit of, I know it sounds silly, but a little spirit of gratitude for that, because I've had opportunities just to do some really fun stuff with great people. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, and first off, thank you. That's very kind of you. The one of the big payoffs for me in doing the podcast is that I get to talk about topics that we hardly would ever talk about otherwise. Maybe a group of STP folks goes out to dinner, and even if I sat next to you during dinner, I'd probably ask you about how your research is going, how's your teaching going, but I probably at dinner wouldn't ask you, so what did you do in high school? So doing the podcast kind of, I don't know, gives me it's not giving me the right. It gives me the excuse, perhaps, to ask about really, to me, in things that I'm truly interested in, but stuff that I just don't normally get a chance. I mean, who has an hour uninterrupted to talk to somebody, not at a conference, not at a conference dinner? And so to me, that's the biggest treat of looking forward to talking to you today as well.
Yeah. And I would say too, I think you have a great opportunity. I mean, it's so amazing that you get to connect with other people and get to know a little bit more about their story. I'm a little sitting here now, a little envious of that, because those are the moments and the pieces that I truly value with interactions with friends and colleagues, is when I get to see kind of a little deeper side of that person, and you get to do that more on the regular. And that's awesome.
So Jenn, I know you have so much to do, but I don't think I've ever made this pitch on air before. But if you want to launch your own podcast and you want to talk to people, Garth and I can help you make that happen.
Oh, okay. Well, you may end up regretting your words.
I would never regret that. And my only gentle mentoring type advice would be, you got to think about what you're going to stop doing to start your own podcast.
And that's kind of the nice thing about being in this tenured and in the place I'm at in my career right now, is where I can start to make some of those choices, and I can start to look at things and go, gosh, podcast, that sounds really fun. And so maybe, that's a nice kind of perk of where I'm at in my career, is I can start to choose to do things, because I think this idea of like, having fun in what you're doing is also really important to job satisfaction.
Absolutely.
And I've been trying, it sounds silly, but as an adult, I've been trying to play more. And, I wish we had time to get into that, but we don't. But those kind of things, like seeking out opportunities that just sound enjoyable and fun and not like labor are awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to save that play topic either for episode 2 with you, or maybe that's your podcast topic.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Academics of play.
Yeah. I love it. That's a great idea.
Jenn, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting me. Thanks for your warm and friendly welcomes every time we touch base.
Well, I'm happy to edit that last part out. So I won't. I'll leave it in. You said it. I just won't listen to it again. But thanks, Jenn.
Yeah, you bet.
Hey everyone, Garth here. Thanks for listening to Psych Sessions. If you could go to wherever you listen to our podcast and you would follow that podcast or like it, it really does help us as we are trying to get out to more teachers of psychology. Also, if you haven't checked out our website, please visit psychsessions.org and sign up for our monthly newsletter. We offer free resources and valuable news that you are going to want to know related to the teaching of psychology. Thanks.